Portugal was always a cocoon for me to grow, to rest, to transform, to cry, to heal, all the things, to celebrate, to party, meet new people, get inspired, have new friends, even touch a tree and just, feel the tree. I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but that's just what I do. I have to say, Portugal changed my life 360, when I first arrived.
On this week's episode, I'm joined by Vanessa Naumann. Vanessa is a somatic therapist, a creative catalyst, a speaker, and a sound artist. Vanessa is originally from Germany, but has lived in Portugal for the last 6 years. We discuss, amongst other things, why she chose Portugal all those years ago after an ocean experience. Vanessa shares about all the things she loves about authentic Portuguese culture and people, and how important it is for us as foreigners to engage and connect with those things and be open to them. Vanessa talks about her life in Lisbon and how Lisbon has changed somewhat over the years. She talks a bit about her work. She talks about how she gets rest and recovery after long sessions. And Vanessa shares about how easy it is for her to connect with nature in Portugal. The oceans, the beaches, the forests, the mountains, and how all of that is so accessible. And Vanessa talks about how, for her, Portugal has always been a cocoon. For those of you listening, head over to our YouTube channel to watch some of this episode. And for those of you watching, click down below and subscribe. And for the full podcast episode, go to Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, over to my conversation with Vanessa. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm really happy to be joined here by Vanessa Naumann. Vanessa, hello. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Vanessa, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm originally from Germany. I have lived in Portugal for about 6 years now. When I arrived, I just came for the Web Summit. And when I arrived, I just felt like, ooh, I really like it. And that year, I didn't have any holiday yet. And I went to the beach in Peniche. And when I sat at the beach, I was like, oh my God, our small problems in the city, are getting washed away by the ocean. And that's the moment I decided I'm going to move. And then everything just went really quickly. And I moved first, working a job in Portugal. I worked at a design agency in Portugal, and I was a project manager. And then we opened another company together. And at some point I felt like quite burned out. And I started to, get into meditation and all these kind of forms of self-help, I guess. And that really brought me to sound therapy. I'm a sound therapist and a somatic therapist. And yeah, I just went crazy studying all these things, and people ask me to work with them. And that's kind of like when I shifted my career completely to what I do now. And I'm grateful that Portugal led me there. So yeah.
But Vanessa does this amazing sound therapy. I mean, maybe you could explain a little bit more about a typical session that you do, Vanessa.
So the instruments I work with have very low frequencies. So how this works is pretty simple. Sound has a huge capacity to change your state. Just because our body is made of 60, 70, up to 80% of water, right? So it's a great medium to resonate. And sound, and especially those low frequency sounds, when you play them with a body in the room, they move the water in your body, right? And our cells accumulate a lot of, energy, but also a lot of waste, and, like we in our body, but it's like on the micro level. And the sound basically shakes up our cells and clears out any physical, any emotional waste. That's why in a session, it can be that emotions are coming up. Some people may laugh or cry. And then it can also be that physical tension is released. And that's all because, the sound has this therapeutic capacity of resonating in our body. So to wrap it up, the sound has an immense power to shift whatever is not in alignment in your body to create better balance within you. That's also something I really love about Portugal. There are traditional events like the Sardinia's festivities. And then you also have like the international ones, like the Carnival and all these things. And people are often celebrating on the streets. And I really love that. And there's this togetherness, like you're just on the street and everybody's there, and I really love that. So if somebody's listening that, you know, hasn't really found their groove with the local people in Lisbon yet and has just been hanging out with expats, which is great too. But I think if you want to become a part of the country, take a drive, you know, go to a restaurant, talk to some people, ask them questions, because, you know, they also want to belong. You want to belong.
But there is a beauty in connecting with the local way and the local culture and the way that people do things and live here. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your desire to do something like that.
I feel it was my number one priority, to be honest, because wherever I traveled in the world, I would always want to learn the language and also like talk to the people because they have the stories. And I feel like it's also respectful to make an effort to connect with the locals and also with the language, because, you know, you're coming into the country and that's okay. You know, the world belongs to all of us. But I just, you know, I'm somebody who wants to know about traditions. I want to know what moves people and why, right? And for that, like, why is the city as it is? And, you know, and I feel like it's a responsibility of us as expats to come into the city and make an effort.
Have you had moments like that in Portugal where you thought, this is why I came, this is what I wanted to experience?
I was really blessed when I first arrived here. My first friend was actually a local, my friend Vera, and she's Portuguese, and I lived with her for the first few months. So she's like a very, you know, active person, and she always knows where something is going on. And she's also very local. She's, you know, also international and all these things, but she's also Portuguese. So she's obviously connected to the local community. And she would always take me to like a dinner with her Portuguese friends. She would take me to her parents' house in Óbidos, you know, and show me very Portuguese things, or take me to have sardinhas at the festivities. So I feel like I have a lot of local memories, and it always warmed my heart when I got to be part of the locals. And at some point, you know, people saw me as a local, which just made me feel very home. And I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I mean, where are some other places that you've been? I know you mentioned Braga and we spoke a bit about Peniche, Óbidos, but where are some of the places you've been that you were like, wow, this is pretty amazing?
Yeah. Like you say, Braga, Porto. I really enjoyed Porto, especially when you go to the other part of the city, Gaia, and you watch the sunset. Yeah, and you watch the sunset from this like little hill, you know. And then I also really enjoyed Jerez, which is the national park in the north, right? Like with the waterfalls. And I would really recommend going in like September, October, because, you know, it's not as full, and also it's quite
not as hot.
Not as hot. For a walk, for hiking, it's great. And then maybe you can help me out with this. I went to the other mountains, which are close to Jerez, but it's more wintry, you know.
Serra da Estrela.
Serra da Estrela,
in
and
Guarda,
then there's another
region.
Yeah. And then there's a region that's next to it, Serra da some other Serra.
The Dow. It's the Dow region.
Yeah. So I've been to these, and it's really cool if you just rent an Airbnb there. I went there 2 years ago before Christmas, and the prices were really great because it was still during, you know, the pandemic. But I think you can get good deals if you just rent like this little mountain house with a beautiful view. It's incredible. And you just rent a car, which is also so affordable in Portugal.
Yeah.
And I also love Algesur. I love the region around Algesur, Alentejo, which is more in the south of Lisbon, Ericeira, and Mafra. I love. I've been all around Portugal.
So you've seen a lot of it. That's good. I mean, for you, the work that you do, it's a lot with helping people. It's a lot with helping people heal, helping people deal with trauma. It's heavy work emotionally for. So what does Vanessa do to get your break? How does Portugal give you rest, and how does Portugal restore you and help you kind of find your center again?
Yeah. So I have to say, I know that trauma and all these things always sound very heavy. But when you're a practitioner and you love what you do, and you've been through similar experiences maybe that others experience now, it actually doesn't feel that heavy. But you're absolutely right that, there needs to be time and space to regenerate and to reset your energy levels. And on the daily, I always love to put in my headphones, especially after I just had a session online or offline, and just, take a walk to the Estrela Park in Lisbon. So I love to walk there and maybe just maybe even touch a tree and just, feel the tree. I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but that's just what I do. And I love to also get out for a weekend. So a good friend of mine, Mackie, she has a beautiful country house in Mafra. So we spent some lovely times there together, and just, having I love to drive by myself. So sometimes I would just rent a car, drive to the beach, or take an Uber to the beach or something like that. Water is for me very cleansing and clearing. So just spending a day or two by the water is amazing.
Why do you think Portuguese people should be proud of their country?
I think they should be proud because in comparison to other places, it is still very untouched in a way. There's still, and we're coming back to the word rough, raw places around, raw regions. And also, I feel like there's not that much waste outside of the cities. I don't know how you perceive that, but I feel like it's quite clean in comparison to many places. So that's really something to be proud of. And I really feel like people are very connected to their families. They care. They are there for each other. Every Sunday they would meet and they would call each other so often. So for me, that's inspiring because it hasn't always been like that for me. And obviously the wine, the cork, the efforts to live well in a way, so.
How would you say Portugal has changed you?
I have to say Portugal changed my life 360. When I first arrived, I had the intention to take it a notch down, get really present with myself, understand myself better. And that didn't work in the beginning. I got busier and busier, but I also, I became more myself. And over the course of the 6 years, now I have to say, I became a completely different person inside and out, and in the sense that I grew more into myself. So I feel like Portugal really challenged me in many, many ways, but also Portugal was always a cocoon for me to grow, to rest, to transform, to cry, to heal, all the things, to celebrate, to party, to, meet new people, get inspired, have new friends, all the ways. Yeah, it really changed me in every way for the better.
Beautiful. I love that. Vanessa, what's one thing that you want people to remember and take away from our conversation?
You can be whoever you are, wherever you are, and you belong if you let people see you. That's what I want them to know. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you. Vanessa, a question that we ask all of our guests. Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Because it's just, every day feels like holiday. Let's put it like that.
I like it. Vanessa, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. You're such a lovely person, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
You're welcome. I enjoyed the conversation as well. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.